Meteorologist Janice Huff, and winter is almost here. What can you expect this season? Bitter temps? Lots of snow? Our weather experts map it all out to get you ready. Storm Team 4's Winter Outlook.
Thursday on News 4 New York at 11. Tomorrow morning at 4 on Today in New York.
The ballots are still being counted.
And we've got the latest results.
I'm Darlene Rodriguez.
And I'm Michael Gargiulo.
Join us for breaking election news.
The winners, the losers, and the races still undecided.
Today in New York, starting tomorrow morning at 4.
Good evening from NBC News election headquarters. Tonight, all eyes on which party will control Congress.
Democrats clinging to razor-thin margins in both chambers with the entire House and dozens of Senate seats on the ballot and many Americans unhappy with the state of the economy. Republicans may be poised to regain power tonight.
Election night 2022. Millions of Americans voting at the polls and by mail. The question to be answered tonight, who will control Congress?
Democrats trying to cling to a razor-thin margin of control in both the Senate and the House.
I'm going to stand up for the best in the American spirit.
Democracy is on the ballot this year.
Republicans on offense, aiming to seize the upper hand once again.
They're fleeing these failed states because these states don't work.
With the influence of the former president looming large.
President Trump taught us how to fight, and I took a few notes.
What that means for the direction of the country.
High drama and high stakes from coast to coast tonight in an election unlike any other, as America decides who will tip the balance of power.
From NBC News, Decision 2022, The Balance of Power. Here now are Lester Holt and Savannah Guthrie.
Hi, it's 8 o'clock on the East Coast, and the polls have just closed in 16 states, including the closely watched Senate races in Pennsylvania and Florida. Hi, everybody. I'm Savannah Guthrie here alongside Lester Holt, Chuck Todd, Andrew Mitchell, and Hallie Jackson. And it promises to be an exciting and a long night.
Get comfortable. We'll be here a while, folks. We're here with the entire NBC News team to bring you all the latest results and what they will mean for you on this historic night. To set the stage, all 435 House seats, 35 Senate seats, and 36 governor's mansions are up for grabs tonight.
The Republicans only need a net gain of 1 seat in the Senate and 5 seats in the House to take control of both houses of Congress. The political winds may be at their backs tonight, and we already have some results to share with you this morning. We can project a winner here at NBC News. In the Florida Senate race, Marco Rubio will go to the Senate for a 3rd term. He beat his opponent, Val Demings, the former Orlando police chief. Let's go to Pennsylvania. A lot of folks watching this one, and you're going to be waiting a while. It is too early to call. John Fetterman, Mehmet Oz battling it out for the open seat in Pennsylvania and in New Hampshire. Another one with some late momentum for the Republican in the race, Maggie Hassan, the incumbent, holding on at this hour, but it is too early to call.
We've got a projection in the Alabama Senate race. Katie Britt, former chief of staff to the outgoing senator, will go on to victory tonight. That's the projection. In Kentucky, too early to call. Richard Blumenthal trying to hang on to his seat in Connecticut. Illinois, the Senate race there is too early to call.
Let's go to Maryland. There's a Senate race there. It is too early to call. Chris Van Hollen, the incumbent, leading at this hour. In Missouri, same situation. Too early to call, but Eric Schmidt, the Republican, leading at this hour. And in Oklahoma, James Lankford will return to the United States Senate in his race.
And in the other Oklahoma race, Mark Wayne Mullen, the projected winner over Democrat Kendra Horn. In Georgia Senate, this is one that may keep us here a while, even weeks. Too early to call on that Senate showdown between Raphael Warnock and Herschel Walker. Ohio Senate. Right now, it is too early to call. You can see Tim Ryan, the Democrat, leading, but that race too early to call.
Let's go to North Carolina. The Senate race there, hotly contested. Too early to call there. Sherry Beasley, the former state Supreme Court justice, up against Ted Budd. So here's where we stand at this hour. Democrats with 36 seats, Republicans with 36 seats. Currently a 50-50 matchup there in the Senate, but we will see if that changes tonight. And we want to start getting into the governor's races at this hour. And we will project that Ron DeSantis cruises to victory over Charlie Crist by double digits in the state of Florida.
The Pennsylvania governor's race, Josh Shapiro, Doug Mastriano. That is too early to call. Mastriano, the Trump-backed candidate in that race. The Georgia governor's race, a rematch here, too early to call between Stacey Abrams and Brian Kemp. Alabama governor's race. It looks like Kay Ivey, the projected winner, will continue to be lead that state.
Connecticut's governor's race, too early to call. Ned Lamont, the incumbent, trying to hang on there. In Illinois, also too early to call. J.B. Pritzker, the incumbent. And in Maine, an open seat for Governor Janet Mills versus Paul LePage. Excuse me, not an open seat. We've got the incumbent Janet Mills. That is too early to call, but the Democrat is leading there.
Maryland governor's race. Let's see where we stand right there. I believe it's too early to call between we'll move on to the Massachusetts race. Also too early to call. Maura Healey, the Democrat, Jeff Deal, the Republican there. And New Hampshire governor's race, too early to call in that race as well.
Oklahoma has a governor's race that was very contentious. Kevin Stitt, the incumbent, up against Joy Hoffmeister. Too early to call, but Governor Stitt is leading at this hour. In Rhode Island, it is too early to call that race. We'll go to South Carolina now, and we will project that the incumbent, Henry McMaster, will win handily over his challenger. And let's go to Tennessee's governor's race. Too early to call there, but the incumbent Bill Lee is leading at this hour. So we've got kind of a slate of governor's races, state houses. We've got the Congress at stake. It's got a lot to talk about. We've got our whole team with us. But, Chuck, we'll start with you because it's early. And when it's early, we always say, where are the bellwethers? Where are the signs that will indicate where this night may be headed?
Well, look, some of them are in the House. I think there's a developing story going on in that in the true battlegrounds, turnout seems to be pretty even. In the states where you didn't really have a statewide race driving things, you start to see that it looks like Democrats didn't get the turnout in some of those places. And I want to show you a few House race results here that just sort of indicate that a little bit. We have some key House races that we believe need to be watching. We've been watching these in Virginia here. We've told you this is the table stakes here. And as you can see, you know, this lead has been holding. Look, we don't know everything, which part of this is early vote, which part of this is same-day vote. But Elaine Luria, the incumbent, has been trailing the entire time. In the 7th, you see the same thing, a 10-point spread. And look, there's not a lot remaining. However, one thing I'll remind you about the 7th congressional district, the last vote to come in is going to be the bluest vote. So that is something to watch for here. Now, here's a sign that it's probably not going to be a tsunami because Jennifer Wexton's been hanging on. And again, the vote that will be coming in next is going to be bluer. So I told you about small, medium, and large there with those 3 Virginia races. It looks like we're somewhere between medium and small. But again, this is a case where you didn't have anything driving the statewide ticket. But I want to tell you, and I want to take you to the Senate here a little bit because there's a developing story in Georgia. So we've got the Senate results. I want you to keep an eye on a number here, the raw vote number. Here's Herschel Walker, 620,000 raw votes. And this is going to be important, and I'll tell you why. I'm going to go to the governor's race there. So 620. Now, let me show you Brian Kemp's number, 685. These numbers have been coming in. We were talking about ticket splitters. The story of the night could end up being ticket skippers. And why is ticket skipping more important in some ways than ticket splitting? Because let me go back to the Senate race here. Because what you've done here is, again, let me show you. So I wish we could put them up together, but in this, in 7.0, we'll get it that way. So if you see here, Abrams is getting 51, Kemp's getting 48. Raphael Warnock's getting 53. He's running about 3 points ahead of, but Walker's running about 5 points behind Kemp. So Warnock, you may have more Republicans that showed up in Georgia to vote today, but not more Republicans in the Senate race. And it means that there is a chance that Warnock might be able to avoid a runoff. But the point is, the ticket skipping here has been the thing to watch tonight, and not a good sign for Herschel Walker.
Very interesting to see that. We'll continue to keep an eye on that, of course, in Georgia. If you don't get 50% at this first go-round, you get a runoff. That would be December 6th, so in about a month's time. So we'll continue to watch that.
Which is why we never say election night anymore.
No.
It's election until it's over.
Love to hear it.
It's the
election
season.
month.
It's the season. We have reporters.
Leaves have changed.
Fanned out across the country. Let's begin with Ali Vitale, who is in Tampa, Florida, at the campaign headquarters for Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Ali.
Lester, at least here it is going to be election night because the hundreds of people who are packed into this convention hall knew that they were likely showing up for a victory party. Governor Ron DeSantis solidifying his second term here. The room absolutely electric as the race was officially called. But the feeling here has a little bit more to it than just a victory party for a sitting governor who's up for re-election. These are margins that you do not often see in a state like Florida. Usually very tight 1 to 2 point races. Here, of course, DeSantis having a huge lead on his glide path to victory. But it also is potentially a springboard to what's next. I know it's early, but many people talking right now about what DeSantis could say here about his future plans. We know that former President Donald Trump has set his sights on Ron DeSantis, someone who's widely talked about as someone who could be the heir apparent to the Trump mantle in 2024. A lot of donors, a lot of Republican operatives that I've been talking to saying that he could be the next wave of people who could represent the Republican Party in the coming presidential primary. You see many of those faces on your screen there, but DeSantis is continuously the one that comes up in conservative straw polls. When I'm talking to Republican donors, he's someone who has a massive war chest. This race here could be the perfect springboard into a presidential campaign, and so a lot of eyes on the stage behind me for when he comes and gives this address, both what he says about the near term and also his future term plans. You got to imagine that there are a lot of eyes at Mar-a-Lago watching what happens here in Tampa tonight.
That's the other race that may be in the offing.
Well, you know, and just before we go to Kerry Sanders over at Demings headquarters, Chuck just pulled up an interesting stat.
Check this out.
For those in the DeSantis versus Trump sweepstakes, here's Palm Beach County, the president's home county.
Big Dem County. Just to remind people how big of a Dem County it is, I want to show you, right? Biden won the county by 13 points. Look, DeSantis is wrong, but DeSantis has got to carry Donald Trump's home county.
All right.
So, you know, just something to just file that away in the ongoing Trump-DeSantis feud.
Okay, we'll keep an eye on that. Let's go to Kerry Sanders. He's in Orlando, Florida, the headquarters for the Democratic Senate candidate Val Demings, who did not win tonight. She actually outspent Senator Marco Rubio, Kerry Sanders, but did not bring it across the finish line.
Yeah, she did not. She is here. She's yet to come out. Her campaign has no comment, but the supporters here say that they are devastated, but that this was not unexpected. Senator Marco Rubio will go back for a third term, and in the analysis of all the votes here, what may be most interesting is that the Republican Party in the state actually was able to bring in voters who typically would vote for the Democrats, 18% of the state being Hispanic, and many of those may have crossed over from their Democratic registrations, voting in the Republican race here for, in this case, Marco Rubio. There has been a lot of effort by the Republican Party. At the same time, the Democrats themselves have said that their messaging to voters in general, but specifically to Hispanic or Latino voters, has been somewhat of a miss, and that may be reflected here. And what's perhaps most important is, as we see Governor Ron DeSantis back to office, and that was not unexpected, and now Marco Rubio into a third term. A state that was once blue, then purple, appeared to be red. It may now very well be that this is a Republican state, third largest state in the country, which plays a big role in the electoral votes when it comes to the presidential election in 2 years. Guys?
All right, Kerry Sanders at Val Demings headquarters in Orlando, Florida. Again, NBC News projecting Marco Rubio handily wins a third term in the United States Senate. We got a call for you here. New Hampshire, Chris Sununu, the incumbent there, will get a second term as governor.
All right, we want to check in on a couple of big races, obviously in Pennsylvania tonight, and that's where Peter Alexander is. Peter, what were the wins going into tonight?
Well, the wins had certainly been in the favor of John Fetterman for much of the campaign, but over the course of the last several weeks, things got a lot tighter as Republican candidate Dr. Mehmet Oz appeared to even things up. This is effectively a dead heat as they come into election night. I've been speaking to campaign aides close to Dr. Oz, and they say that they feel extremely confident going into this evening, though they acknowledge it may be a matter of days before they know the results here. The bottom line is that control of the Senate will likely go through this state, through Pennsylvania, punctuating what has been a long long and chaotic campaign, and it's going to continue to be a bit longer because there have been some voting issues throughout this state over the course of the day. Go to Luzerne County. That's in the northeast part of the state, and there it's notable that a county that Donald Trump won twice has been having some issues because they've now extended voting there for an additional 2 hours because many of the polling places had a paper shortage. And then you go to Philadelphia, which is the Democratic stronghold in this state. There it's likely that it's going to take even longer for them to count the votes because just today they reinstated a process to make sure that there are no double votes, which is to say people that cast a mail-in ballot and then showed up at the polls to vote as well today. Beyond that, because so many people in the state vote by mail, they don't begin counting those votes till today. The Secretary of State here, acting position right now, says it could be a few days before we know which way things go here. Savannah and Lester?
We've heard that from another number of races. It's going to be, as we say, a long night, a long week. Patience is going to be key.
Absolutely. Let's go to Gabe Gutierrez. He's in Atlanta. He is at the Raphael Warnock campaign headquarters. And we just saw Chuck talking about potentially a positive sign in some of these early results, but we got a long way to go, Gabe.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Savannah. The polls here in Georgia closed a little over an hour ago, and those results are starting to come in. But interest in this race, in these races, have been extremely high here in Georgia. Of course, more than 2.5 million people voting in these midterms early in Georgia. That is a record, and some $250 million, $250 million coming in to this Senate race. Of course, as you mentioned, could hold the key to the balance of power in the Senate. Now, we are starting to get some of those NBC News exit polls, and the key race, the marquee race here, of course, between incumbent Senator Raphael Warnock and football legend Herschel Walker. And what's interesting in these exit polls is that nearly 2 in 3 Georgia voters say that the Republican Senate candidate Walker lacks good judgment. Now, the question will be, will that prevent them from actually voting for Herschel Walker? And I've spoken with voters over the past several days that say they may not like Walker's judgment. They may have problems with the allegations that he paid for abortions for women, allegations he's denied. So they may have reluctantly voted for him, but they did so because of the economy. And that's something I've been hearing over and over again. Another NBC News exit poll, though, shows that about 44% of respondents said that Warnock was too extreme, that he was too extreme, and that maybe because of the intense amount of ads that have been airing here in Georgia trying to label the Democrat as too extreme and in line with President Biden and blaming him for rising inflation. So certainly that race, very key here. Also the gubernatorial race, as you mentioned, between Republican Brian Kemp and Stacey Abrams. Those votes are just starting. The results just starting to come in. But Savannah, as you said, the key thing here, will any candidate that comes out on top, will they be able to avoid a runoff according to Georgia state law?